it's Amy, and I'm here today to do the wrap-up of my next 5 books. So that's books 16 through 20. And so let's just dive right into all of the books that I read and what my thoughts are on them. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is Love Comes Softly by Jeannette Oak. Maybe Okie. I'm not sure. Anyway, this book was actually a reread for me. I read it while I was in Colorado for a month, and it was just one of those books that just has just this comfort for me. I know the story so well. It follows Marty and Clark, and they are in a marriage of convenience, and it's their story of how they get along with one another. And I absolutely love this whole series, the Love Comes Softly series. I just really love this family. It's set in the mid-1800s, and that's one of my favorite time periods, and it's just one of those stories that it's very simple. The writing is very simple, and there's no like huge action. It's just a story of two people's lives, and I just absolutely love this story. And I've read it so many times, but every time it just gives me just something to smile about, and it's just a great story. The next book that I want to talk about is also another reread for me, but I read this book when I was like 10 or 11, and that is A Family Apart by Joann, Lowry, Nixon. And this is a book that I read when I was in 6th grade, I believe, and I still vividly remember picking this up at the library and reading it and rereading it, and I just absolutely loved the story, and it's one that I have consistently thought about over the years, and is just one that I'm like, I just kind of want to pick this up and reread it. And so my library had this book and a couple books in the series, so I picked up the first book, and it follows these 6 children. They are the Kelly children. Yes, the Kelly children, and they are actually sent on what is called the orphan train. This is actually an historical event that happened during this time period, is that children that are orphaned that in the East, they get sent to the West of families to be adopted, and you follow the Kelly family, and particularly the oldest and the youngest. And I have to say that I really loved remembering the story, and for a middle grade, I would say probably if you have an advanced reader, definitely even like 9 years old, between 9 and 12, depending on the reading ability of your child. It's a great historical story. I do have to say that the ending was wrapped up very quickly. I would have liked a little bit longer, just as a reader standpoint, as an older reader, but as a younger reader, I definitely remember just loving the story. I have to say that it held up to my memories of this story. And overall, I gave this book a 3.75 out of 5 stars, and how that broke down is quality of writing, I gave an 8, pace and plot development, I gave a 7 out of 10, characters enjoyability, I gave an 8 out of 10, insightfulness, a 7 out of 10, and ease of reading, a 9 out of 10, for an overall rating of 3.75. So I definitely recommend this book, especially for older but elementary, younger middle school children. So it's definitely a great book for children to read. Next book that I want to talk about is an audiobook that I listened to, and that is P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. This is the second book in the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series, and without going into a lot of detail about the actual plot, I definitely have to say that I appreciated the character development of Laura Jean. I thought she matured from the first book. It wasn't just about, whiny dramatics that, a teenager goes through. I felt like she was actually dealing with some pretty severe problems, and I feel like she dealt with them pretty well, and I liked the plot that the storyline went on. I do have to say that I feel like the relationship in this story is pretty problematic. I didn't like the relationship in the first book, and I don't really like the relationship in the second book. I feel like there's a lot of problems in it, and I feel like it's a very immature relationship. But overall, I enjoyed the story, and the thing that I love the most is still, I absolutely love the dad in this story. I feel like he is strong, and even though he is a single parent, and even though he works really hard, I feel like he's still available and present in his children's lives, and I really appreciate that one. So I definitely like this story, and I'm looking forward to continuing on in the third book, and I'm hoping my library gets the audiobook really soon, because I want to listen to it. So yeah, so overall I gave give this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and how that broke down was quality of writing and pace, I gave an 8 out of 10. Plot development and insightfulness, a 7 out of 10, and characters and enjoyability, I gave a 9 out of 10. And I didn't give a rating for ease of reading because I was listening to it. So that comes out to an overall rating of 4 out of 5. So definitely recommend continuing on in the story if you read the first book, because I feel like it's a good continuation of the story. Moving on to the next book, and that is book number 19, and this is another audiobook that I listened to, and this is Just Listen by Sarah Dessen, and this book follows Abigail? Is it Abigail? I believe it is Abigail. I believe it is. Yes. I believe it is Abigail. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. Abigail and Owen, and I really loved that you just jump right into the story, and I know most stories you just jump right in, you don't really know the characters, but this story you almost I feel like you're almost jumping into like the middle of a battle. You don't know who's battling, you don't know what they're battling for, you don't know why they're enemies. You're just in the middle of the battle and you're fighting yourself around and you're figuring it out as you go. And I really feel like that's how you are in the story. You just dive right in. You don't know why Sophie is angry with Abigail and stopped talking to her. You don't know why Abigail is all alone. You don't know what's going on in her family. You don't know something that happened to her that may have caused something. You don't know what that is. You're just kind of following Abigail in her life, and because it's written that way, you really do feel the isolation that the main character has as well. And so I feel like you just are with this main character and you're feeling the emotions she has, and it's just a fantastic story. It's a great story of the hardships of high school, and then it's also just a great story of friendship and how, friendships can end, but they can also restart, and new friendships can begin. And so you follow Abigail, who meets Owen, and I just love that for most of the story, it's not about a love story. It's not about them falling in love. It's not about them miscommunication about, anything. It's just them being friends. It's about Owen befriending Abigail when she needed someone. And so I absolutely love that aspect of the story. The overall, the outer ranges of the story, I thought it got to be a lot. There was a lot going on in this story, and so I really liked Abigail's story and how she was navigating everything that was happening to her. But the outer ranks of the story that kind of helped things develop, it was a lot, and also Abigail's parents, they have this blinder to her, and they don't notice things that are happening. I just find that really unbelievable, because you see other aspects of the story where, okay, the parents are very loving and they care for their girls, but then they don't really question why their daughter's best friend just suddenly disappears and is not talking to her anymore. They don't question why, what's going on in her daughter's life. And I just find that really unbelievable if you're seeing parents that are loving and are there for their children. In the end, I really just love, there's, a big thing that happens, and I just love how things kind of come together and how the family really gathers around her. I do have to say that the audiobook is good, but there is one scene that it gets very, very I almost had to stop listening to it while this was happening, because it was really intense. So there's a couple triggering elements in the story, and so I definitely say this is an older YA, 17 years or older, but the story is great. As always, I feel like Sarah Dessen just brought some really great characters and brought some really great struggles that teenagers have to deal with. So definitely recommend this book, and definitely recommend the audiobook. So overall, I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and how that broke down was quality of writing, plot development, characters, and insightfulness was an 8 out of 10. Pace was a 7 out of 10, and enjoyability was a 9 out of 10, for an overall ranking of 4 out of 5. Moving on to the last book in this wrap-up, book number 20, and that is Night's Shadow by Sebastian de Castell. This is the second book in the Great Coat series, and this book was phenomenal. Oh my goodness. I finished this book. I can't remember exactly how long it took me to finish the book. It wasn't very long. It was just a few days. And it's almost 600 pages. This book was phenomenal. It continues on following the Great Coats and all the things that they're having to deal with, and it's more, battles and more fighting and more friendship, and it's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. I do have to say that it's a lot more gruesome than the first book, so if you have to have, a strong stomach, and I definitely say for sure this is adult fantasy. No one under 18 should be reading this just because of all the violence that is in it. But 18 years or older, definitely think if you love fantasy, definitely pick this up. It's fantastic. I can't go too much into the plot because it is a second in a series, but it's fantastic. If you have not picked up the first book, which is Traitor's Blade, pick it up. You will not be disappointed. It's fantastic. And I have to say that there are moments in this book that made me cry. Like, I don't cry normally in books, but this one had me weeping. So much so, like, I was weeping as I'm reading, and I'm like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, and it was just fantastic. And then the next page I'm laughing, and so it's just a testament to the quality of writing that Sebastian puts into his books, and it's just so fantastic, and the characters are wonderful, and you really just are rooting for them, and it's so fantastic, and I cannot wait to continue on in this series. The next book is Saint's Blood, and the last book is Tyrant's Blade, I believe. And so fantastic. I cannot sing their praises enough. So overall, I give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. And how that broke down, let me just tell you. Quality of writing, pace, plot development, characters, enjoyability was 10 out of 10. And then I did have 2 that were 9 out of 10, maybe 9.5 out of 10. Insightfulness and ease of reading. And so it is rounded up to 5 out of 5, but it's still it's still a fantastic story. I couldn't give it less than 5 stars because it's so amazing. So amazing. Any book that will make me cry and laugh and really think about things and friendship. It's so amazing. So amazing. Go read it. It's fantastic. Okay, guys, so that wraps up the last 5 books 16 through 20. Let me know down below if you read any of these books, your thoughts, your feelings, or if you want anything that you want to put down in the comments down below. And guys, I hope you're having a great reading month, and I will see you on the flip side. Bye!